70% of all millionaires are entrepreneurs. The remaining 30% is Manny Pacquiao, LeBron James, and all the high-level athletes, and basically a career as an executive. And that portion about that 70% of millionaires, and if you look at that ultra rich, and if you look at all the people who have been the top 50 richest people in the world, you look at all of them, I'll tell you, all of them, it's either they're in the stock market or their companies are listed in the stock market. So it's very important as individuals to try to understand how these guys were able to make their wealth in the stock market. And at the same case, our approach here has been trying to give people that opportunity to learn and everything about this business. Okay, there's many ways to skin the cat. I honestly believe you look at long-term investing and you look at short-term trading. There's many ways to skin the cat. Okay, one of the things that I always talk about is that we have long-term investors come into the stock market, and then you have people who try to figure out, "Oy, maybe I can buy this stock pang long-term," right? A few days go by, a few months go by, hindi pa rin umakyat yung stock mo. And you try to figure out, is long-term investing really for me? And then 5 minutes later, you go on Facebook, on social media, and you hear people about hyping, for example, like Dito Telco, telling you it's the next third telco, it's going to be as big as Globe and PLDT. And you buy it thinking that it's going to be the next big winner. Okay? Tapos naipit ka. And then you tell yourself, from short-term trading, you tell yourself, sige, hawakan ko na pang long-term naman eh. Okay? So what's very important from the very beginning as you start your journey, whether in the stock market, is to have a clear identity of what you want to do from the very beginning. Okay? Being an investor and being a trader is totally different. It's totally different. And as an individual, it's very important for you to know what you want to be from the very beginning. Because if you come in trying to be an investor and a trader, I'll tell you, it's going to be very difficult because you'll be mixing all the biases that you'll encounter. Hindi, pang long term. Hindi, dapat kinatlos. Okay? So please, what we're trying to approach here is everything from a short-term perspective and everything from a trading perspective, which means rule number one, you have to learn how to cut your losses. Okay? So what I'll do is that I'll try to help people who are already starting into trading and want to begin that journey by trying to bridge these three truths about these three facts about the stock market. Okay, the first one is that the stock market is always a forward-looking machine. Okay, so whatever news that's already coming out, in most cases, it's already lag data. That's what we mean by lag data. So GDP comes out, second quarter GDP comes out, tapos na yan. Okay. Earnings comes out in the second quarter. Technically, tapos na yan. Okay. So to some extent, you have to make that assumption, okay, that whatever you're reading, in most cases, is already what we call priced in by the market. Okay. What the market now is looking forward to is what's next. Okay. Alam naman natin, may COVID pandemic. The question is, what's next? How are we going to recover from it? And how will the stock market get past that COVID pandemic? Okay. So that part about understanding businesses, not just from for 1 quarter point of view, but even from 6 months to 1 year, because that's how the market is. Okay. So people ask me, perfect example is about Jollibee, right? So Jollibee got hit almost 11 billion in the second quarter alone. Okay. And you think to yourself, okay, it lost 11 billion. The real question is, what's next? How will Jollibee recover? How will the restaurant industry recover? And this is where all the differences and all the complications and all the opinions of people will be different. Okay. People will think, de, wala nang pag-asa restaurant industry, take out na. Okay. Some people will think, okay, it might recover, but it might not recover to the same amount of levels as before. Okay. So that's the part about where all these uncertainty, and that's why prices go up and go down. Because markets are always forward looking, there's so much uncertainty. It's all these differences in opinion that recreate the thesis or the story of what's being played out in any single company or stock. Okay. The second truth when it comes to the stock market is about markets being efficient. Okay. I'll tell you, in the stock market, a lot of people have opinions. Okay. But you have to understand that in some way, in some form, markets are what we call efficient. Okay. What do I mean by efficient? It's that when you look at Main Street today, you look at the real economy today, unemployment is 45% in the Philippines. Um, Outrageous numbers, not just in the Philippines, but US globally everywhere, right? You look at the real economy, GDP dropped by 33% in the US. You're having record high GDP drops all over the world, okay? Yet, if you look at the stock market and in some individual issues, like in the US, new high na, okay? Now, to some extent, it's not because there's nothing, the market does not know that there's nothing wrong with the economy. The market does know there's something wrong with the economy, okay? But what the market is trying to tell you is that even with the market going through this type of crisis, what the market is trying to say is that we've seen the worst, okay? And what we're trying to price in is trying to look for all those quality companies, especially your technology, that have been the least affected, right? And that's why those type of companies are the ones going back into new highs. And I'll give several examples in a bit, okay? And the last thing I want you guys to understand, especially when it comes to trading, is that price is always king, okay? So what do I mean? Is that your opinion, your hypothesis about a company, no matter how much you like it, please remember, the stock price needs to confirm whatever you are thinking, okay? So you like a company, but the stock price is down there, you have to respect what the price is telling you, okay? So these three truths about the stock market, okay? If you truly understand and you respect it, I'll tell you, you can make a lot of money over time, okay? Now, how we approach these three truths is basically using our framework of what we call the FTSR framework, okay? F for fundamentals, T for technicals, S for sentiment, and R for risk management, okay? Personally, I started off as an analyst all my life, okay? So I've been using fundamental analysis as my foundation for most of my trading initially, okay? The reason why, it's because I used all these analysis trying to understand all these companies. I've been a technology analyst, I've been a mining analyst, I've been a consumer analyst, and so I use that as my foundation for buying stocks. And what I realized is that no matter how many times I like companies, I love this company, but the price was always telling me I'm wrong, the stock price wouldn't go up in the short term anyway, okay? And I've seen cases where I've been buying stocks based on fundamentals, and it's always been cheap till today. 5 years later, the price is still the same, okay? So that's the flaw of just using purely fundamentals, okay? And now on the flip side, the reason why it's a weighing scale, it's because then you have technical analysis, okay? And I'll tell you, people just using charts for the sake of charts, I've never seen a rich, pure technician in my life, okay? And people just using charts, I'll tell you, it's because tamad lang sila lahat, okay? When you're relying purely based on charts, okay, it's always based on the premise that history will repeat itself. Now, the real question is, did you really read history? Or are you just basing charts and expecting all the charts to react the same way? Because I'll tell you, not all charts will move the same way as you want it to be, okay? Now, we always try to put a weighing scale on fundamentals and technicals. It's because in every single approach, especially when it comes to every single system in terms of trading, there will always be a weighing scale or a difference in terms of priority about how much you want to be using fundamentals versus technical analysis, okay? But the two things that will always be constant when it comes to your system and to your trading is, first one is about sentiment, which is in the middle, and risk management. And I'll explain both in a while, okay? But first, to show that distinction behind fundamentals and technicals and understanding about price, I'll give you guys several charts to begin with, okay? This is Cebu Pacific, okay? This is Cebu Pacific, and Cebu Pacific has fallen to as low as 30 pesos from 90 pesos. And if you think about what happened with Cebu Pacific, the COVID pandemic basically hit the airline sector probably the hardest, okay? And then you have people on the way down, even as it was starting to break down, tell yourself stories. Hindi, pang long term naman to eh, pang long term naman to eh, okay? Will Cebu Pacific still be here in the long term? I don't know, okay? My answer is most likely yes, okay? Philippine Airlines, most likely yes, okay? But the thing is, how the market sees this in the short term is obviously there's a big trouble happening in the business. And if you look at it, Cebu Pacific posted a loss of 8 billion in the second quarter. Okay. Philippine Airlines lost 15 billion in the second quarter. And my point is that the stock price dropped from 90 pesos to 30 pesos. It dropped 67% because it's losing 15 billion pesos a quarter. Does it make sense? Okay. And if you ask me, yes, obviously it makes sense because you're asking airlines to burn almost 30 to 60 billion pesos a year. Okay. That alone should give you insight that even if you like it on a long-term perspective, you have to understand and respect that what will drive short-term price action is always about what's happening in the business in that short term, what's going to happen the next 6 months to 1 year. There's a reason why the stock price still remains down up until today, because till today, we still don't know what the airline sector is going to look like 6 months, 1 year down the road. Okay. So I hope that's clear. Okay. Because I want you guys to understand that in a short-term perspective, you have to understand what's happening to the company and you have to understand what price is telling you all the time. Okay. Now, other examples. Okay. And one of my favorite examples. Okay. Because ABCBN lost their license, I believe, during that exact same day because they were not, obviously Congress was not able to renew their license for a 25-year extension. Okay. And when this happened, till today, people are asking me, chance to buy ba yan? Chance to buy ba yan? Kasi nahulog na ng 60% eh. And diba, won't they get their license back for the 25-year network? And I tell people, I have absolutely no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, if I knew exactly what was happening, probably I'd be super rich right now and I wouldn't even be doing this conversation. No, I'm just kidding, okay? But my point is that when you're looking at every single situation, right, we try to process all the information that we're able to get on hand and try to see which one makes sense and which ones doesn't. I'll tell you, when we talk about markets being efficient, 9 times out of 10, markets will always try to already price most of this information ahead of time. Okay. Now, what's going to happen next? Will ABCBN get their license back? I don't know. But if they get their license back, do you think the price will recover and recover sharply? My answer is also yes. Okay. But I'm not willing to make that bet. Don't get me wrong. I'm not willing to make that bet. I'm just trying to make sure you guys understand that at the end of the day, fundamentals, what's happening to the company in the short term, the next 6 months to 1 year, and stock price will always make sense. Okay, and they always come hand in hand together. They don't come differently. Everything comes in the same coordination. Okay. Now, not everything's bad news. Okay, when it comes to the stock market, we also have some good news when it comes to the Philippine stock market. So this is a good story about how markets are efficient in some level. It's because after this pandemic scare in early March, pure gold, especially your groceries, saw a huge demand in shopping. Okay, because at the end of the day, despite all the things that are happening to the pandemic, we still need to eat. Okay, and because people are eating less outside, what happens today is that now your groceries have done extremely well. Okay, in fact, first quarter and second quarter, if you look at Pure Gold's numbers, net income for, in this case, in the second quarter was up 24%. Now, it doesn't come as a surprise. It's not just Pure Gold. URC did well. CNPF did well. So it's not also all your consumers, because your restaurant industry, like what I mentioned a while ago about Jollibee, got killed. Okay, Max Chicken got killed. Pizza got killed. Your property sector and your bank sector obviously will still be affected. Okay, so what I'm trying to point out is just understand that prices and markets are always efficient. Okay, so your job is to really question. Now things have already recovered. The real question is try to find a way to foresee what the next 6 months and 1 year will look like. Because I'll tell you, you need to follow where the money is going. Okay, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. I'll be answering questions along the way. So if there's anything unclear, please feel free to butt me in. Okay. And the last thing I'll show to you is about PLDT. Okay. One of the things that always concerns us is most of the industries in the Philippines are traditional. Okay. So the ones really benefiting from this lockdown are all technology or internet-related companies. So one of the companies that we also like is PLDT and Globe. And the reason why, it's because people are now stuck at home. And now you have to work from home. And now you need internet access. And now more people are using internet and mobile data. It obviously means more profit for the telco sector. Okay. And that's the reason why till today, your PLDT, your Globes, your consumer sectors, your defensive have been relatively stronger than the entire Philippines. Okay. And will this continue for the next 6 months to 1 year? I honestly believe my answer is yes. Okay. So that's what I'm just trying to point out here. So it's back to, again, to the three truths and how fundamentals and technicals play its role. Okay. Please remember, markets are efficient. Okay. Markets are forward-looking. Okay. And last but not the least, is that if you don't know, if you're not quite sure, follow always what price is telling you, because at the end of the day, price is always king. Okay. So I hope that helps you guys in whatever business that you're doing or whatever trade that you're doing. Okay. Always try to understand what the purpose is. Okay. Why is Nickel Asia going up? Okay. Is it because nickel prices have recovered? Yes. Okay. No matter what you think about CHP went up 60% in the last month. And the question is, why is CHP rallying? Okay. So that's my point. In every single situation that you try to understand, okay, always know what the pros and cons are. Okay. Because as you understand and as you build good repetition and ask yourself, why is the stock price going up or going down? It will help you eliminate most of the biases that might come your way. Okay. So I hope that helps you. And yeah, so I'll talk about the other two first and before I get back. Okay. We talk about what really drives stock price and try to have an understanding for the next 6 months to 1 year, right? In most cases, it's always going to be talking about sentiment, liquidity, and I'll talk really shortly about how fundamentals will also play its role. Okay. And last but not the least is try to connect it with how price action should look like. Okay. First is about sentiment, and it's about liquidity. And basically what the Fed did in March is basically saved our butts from going through a massive Great Depression all over the world. Okay. And what the Fed did is basically they printed so much money. They printed 4 trillion in a span of 4 months and injected so much liquidity, doubled the balance sheet. Okay. So that all these businesses that are in danger will now at some point be afloat, because now their borrowing cost is now so much cheaper than it was before. Okay. So to take that into consideration, if you look at the 10-year treasury in the US, or interest rates basically in general, they're trading at 75 basis points or 0.75%. Okay. So back then, when it comes to any single crisis or any single situation in 1999, 2008, is that whenever any bubble happened, it was usually combined with a high level of interest rates that people couldn't repay. You had that 2008 mortgage bubble, and because interest rates were still at very high levels that they couldn't pay back. Today, it's very different because you're looking at interest rates where it's free. Money is free, okay? And basically what they did is that they injected so much liquidity that borrowing money today is free in the US. In the Philippines, we're down to 2.7%, if I'm not mistaken, okay? And all that cheap liquidity basically kept the entire system afloat, okay? And now you eliminated that huge crisis in the short term. I don't know what's gonna happen next, okay? But one thing that cheap credit eliminated is that now, because there's nowhere for money to go, it gave people more yield or better premiums for when it comes to other asset classes, okay? So now everything's afloat. There's so much liquidity. Where do you put your money? That's why you're seeing record high bond prices, record high stock market in the US, record high in terms of precious metals, gold, silver. That's the reason why you're also seeing Bitcoin and other alternative assets be afloat, okay? Because if it wasn't for all this liquidity, you wouldn't have a condominium, for example, in Makati be worth 200,000, 250,000 per square meter. If it wasn't for cheap liquidity, You wouldn't be having even asset prices outside in the cities where there were 2,000 pesos per square meter. Now, most of these assets and properties are trading at higher valuations and higher premiums. And because it's just, there's so much money in the system, okay? So now I tell people, just understanding credit and understanding liquidity, that's pretty much 70% of the ballgame, okay? The next 30% is stock picking, okay? But where the money is flowing, basically the money is flowing into the technology sector in the US. Just follow where the technology sector is going. I tell people all the time, as traders, you have to understand there's always going to be a bull market somewhere. So start prioritizing your time and start looking for all those bull markets everywhere else in the world, okay? You're focusing so much time trading the Philippines when there's absolutely nothing. Volumes have been very, very low. Movement has been very, very low, okay? While at the same time, you're seeing huge run-ups in Hong Kong tech, US tech. So it's better to place your time and effort in the right sector, in the right place, okay? So I hope that's clear about liquidity. And that's the first part of what drives stock price, okay? The second part about how I'm relating everything is how things are related also from a fundamental and a technical perspective, okay? We always talk about value investing, okay? And basically value investing is just buying something cheaper than what it's worth, okay? You always assume that the market is rational and you usually use fundamental analysis as your tool for understanding what the value of the asset is actually worth, okay? Now, that's not how we approach it from a market timing perspective. Whenever we're approaching any single asset, we try to understand how much is the market willing to pay for, okay? Not just about how much it's worth and what it's actually worth. So for example, you're buying a pair of shoes. That pair of shoes could be worth 2,000 pesos. But when you go to the market, people are willing to pay outrageous prices for a pair of Nike shoes, almost 30, 40, 50,000 for a pair of sneakers, okay? That's what we're trying to find out. How much is the market willing to pay for? And why are they willing to pay for that high level of a price, okay? I always use Tesla as my example because Tesla today is $400 billion. It's probably worth more than all the traditional auto manufacturers combined, GM, Ford, BMW, Mercedes, so on and so forth, okay? And why is the market willing to pay that premium for Tesla, okay? What is the rationale and what is the behavior about why are people willing to pay that premium? And if you look at it, because people look at Tesla as not just an auto manufacturer. They look at it maybe as a AI company because one day you'll have driverless cars mostly filled with level 5 technology of Tesla, okay? And if you look at EV vehicles, today they're very small in terms of the total ownership, but 2023, we might be looking at 23 million cars, Tesla cars today, okay? So a lot of things may not make sense in the short, in terms of value, what it's actually worth today. But why is the market willing to pay that premium? It's because they try to bank on what might happen in the future. And it's that uncertainty, going back to what I mentioned a while ago about uncertainty, it's that uncertainty that creates huge amounts of hype and valuation, okay? Now, it's not just about understanding what it's actually just worth, it's also understanding why are people willing to give that premium. And you have to understand, will that premium be maintained even in the next 6 months and 1 year? That's what we're trying to find out. And if you can do that and understand that behavior also to the Philippine perspective, okay, it will give you a huge advantage, okay? So for example, why are people still buying Dito Telco? You look at the asset, it's probably worth nothing today, okay? Because people are trying to understand and try to put in, we're not buying Dito for today, we're buying it because it will be the third telco, okay? Now the real question is, may laban ba? Do they have a chance? Okay, now I don't know either, but that's the point. Because there's so much speculation and there's so much uncertainty, it gives people, and you'll notice how prices swing so much from 2 pesos to 5 pesos, back to 1 peso, now it's back to 3, okay? Because of all that uncertainty that's built into the stock price, okay? What I'm only trying to say to you, okay, is that we try to put all these tools into advantage, try to understand what's happening from a business, from a fundamental perspective, understand what the market is willing to pay for it. And if you believe in it, then there's a chance for us to make money. Okay? So just because the market is willing to pay for it doesn't mean it's always correct. Okay? But in the moments that they are correct, then there's a chance for us to make a lot of money in that short-term perspective. Okay? So I hope that's clear. Okay. Going back and try to link it back again, we always talk about earnings and stock price and how stock price will always follow about earnings. Okay. In reality, basically everything that I mentioned for the last 30 minutes to an hour, it never works this way. Okay. You'll always have that excess because like what I always tell you guys, people are willing to price in the highest type of valuation and behavior during the good times and give you the worst valuation and leave you with the worst bankruptcies, worst valuations ever during the worst times. Okay. When people start to move away from you and start to don't believe in your business and model, okay, people will sell off your stock and give you the lowest type of premiums ever. Okay. So I tell people just because it's down there and it's cheap, sometimes it can also be cheap for long periods of time. Okay. Now, if things are changing or what we call reversing, then there might be that gap. Okay. So I tell people there's a chance for us to make money during these irrational times in the upside. But I also tell people there's also a chance for us to make money during the bottom when things might be turning around. Okay. So there's two ways for making money. Okay. But I always tell people the first one is easier. This is what we call easy money because the market is already agreeing to what you think it is. Okay. The second part about trying to think about stocks going to reverse, that's what we call the hard money because you're going against what every single person believes in. But at the same time, because you're going against what everybody believes in, when the market starts to believe you, the upside is also so much bigger. Okay. So just understand those two ways of making money because it will show in how our strategies for trend trading and counter trend will work out for any single system or any single trading system that you'll going forward. Okay. Going back, we talk about businesses in general and how there's always so much uncertainty. And it's usually what I call about stories on the right side here is the one that's creating that uncertainty. Why? It's because when you have stories or yung mga kwento, wala pang numero lahat yan eh. And when there's no numbers, it's easier for people to imagine and tell you all the greatest things about that company. Okay. But I tell people most multi-baggers today often started off as a story. Microsoft, when they built the first PC in 1980s, they were worth 25 cents. Before all this smartphone, the original cell phone maker, Nokia, was less than one euro at that time. Okay. And what I tell people is that all these big companies today often started off as an idea and as a story. Okay. No numbers there because nobody believed in it yet. Okay. You're looking at several types of stories today that are going to make basically expedite everything that we're going to be going through in every single life cycle. So just to give you guys an example, is about the mobile payment segment. Nobody ever believed that mobile payments or what we call QR codes. So think of it as Gcash, Paymaya, but the originators were Alipay and WeChat. Nobody really believed that Alipay and WeChat could turn the cashless society in China around. And the reason why, it's because you look at the US, most of the US was a credit card society. So it's mostly dominated by Visa and MasterCard. And why would I go on a QR code and try to risk myself using QR codes when credit cards have all the benefits, so-called benefits, rather than going for QR, okay? But the ease of convenience and the lack of people being able to get a credit card in the first place, okay, gave people all that opportunity in China, 1 billion people, to use a cell phone app. Now you're going to street vendors, even you're looking for beggars, people are just asking it through QR codes, okay? And everything started off as a story because Alibaba and Tencent were burning so much money in the initial terms, okay? Today, we're going to see Alipay go IPO. Okay, raise a valuation of $200 billion. Okay, and I tell people, back then you couldn't measure it. So looking at it from a Philippine perspective, you're looking at GCash, even a cashless society like the Philippines. You're looking at GCash and PayMaya. Okay, today there's no numbers. Sorry, there is numbers now because it went up 700%. But both companies are still burning so much cash. Okay, and my point is that a lot of these stories, including the mobile payment industry in the Philippines, will often start off as small stories. Okay, 10 years later, okay, it might be a long time, but we'll start to figure out what the mobile payment side of the Philippines and how GCash and PayMaya will find out how it will look like 10 years down the road. Okay, because I'll tell you, stories and ideas, okay, will often push price first. Okay? But for any stock price to be sustainable, hindi pwede kwento-kwento lang. Those stories need to be backed up by numbers. Because for any sustainable move over time, I repeat, for any sustainable move over time, earnings and numbers should basically verify and give you confidence about whatever story and idea they were planning in the first place. Okay? So people are not just buying Apple because it was just an idea, because eventually down the road, they made so much money. Okay, same goes with Microsoft. Same goes even with Tesla. Now it's becoming profitable. Same goes with Alibaba, Tencent, and basically all the companies and speculative companies that you start off looking for in the Philippines. It's not just basing it on ideas, but try to figure out how these guys will make money down the road. Okay, so I won't touch on this too much, but this is just basically, this is stolen by Aswad Damodaran. And what he just shows you is that during the early stages, usually stories have more weight than when it comes to numbers. So usually companies in the Philippines are often in the business model to the harvest stage. And that's why most of the big caps in the Philippines are usually required to have profitability. Okay, so it's usually the numbers that will drive all these big corporations from Ayala, SM, Gokongwei, GT Cap. So it's usually trying to base things off on numbers rather than stories. Okay, but when you're a starting company, usually it's ideas that have higher weight. And if you look at the US today, almost 90% of companies that are going IPO are unprofitable. Okay, I repeat, 90% of companies in the US that are going IPO are unprofitable. Okay, and that's the biggest difference behind the Philippines and US. Because US is all built based on ideas, okay? That's why stock prices can go up so much more in that idea, because there's so much uncertainty built into the stock price going back. Okay? Now, all of these things about understanding how, whether you're an idea or you're a speculative company or you're a big company, what I often tell people is that not all companies move the same way. Okay? And that's the reason why we talk about expectations in stock price, because usually we try to characterize these based on 45, 60, and 90 degrees. Okay? But I'll eliminate the 60 degrees and try to illustrate what 45 and 90 degrees looks like. Okay? When you talk about 90-degree companies, first off, it's usually because there's so much uncertainty and nobody really knows. And this is going back to the idea about how stocks are usually built on stories rather than on numbers. Because there's so much speculation going on, usually 90-degree companies move in pole-like fashion. Okay? Now, when you're buying companies in pole-like fashion, usually the system that you're trying to do is a buy high, sell higher type of approach, or through momentum trading. Okay? Even swing trading, and trying to capitalize it based on those small pullbacks. Okay? It's very different if you expect a big company like PLDT or Pure Gold, okay, to move in a 90-degree fashion. It's because everybody has an idea what a grocery chain and what a telco company is doing, okay? And so usually those big companies that we have in the Philippines, usually we approach it on a 45-degree company because they don't go up right away in a short amount of time. They go up over time, not in the next day, not in the next week. Maybe it might happen, but usually they go up in orderly fashion over time. Okay. And that alone is the reason why you need to understand fundamentals. Because if you're just charting, I will tell you, you'll see stock prices, for example, like PLDT and DITO look the same. And you cannot expect the same amount of stock price expectation in both. And the reason why, it's because DITO is still a very speculative company, has no earnings, and is trying to find its niche, whether it can be even actually be a third telco. If they execute, obviously the upside is big. If they don't execute, the upside is obviously very low. So if you're using the same amount of trading system or using the same amount of technique trading PLDT and DITO, you're absolutely going to get killed. Okay. And it doesn't make sense. Okay. That's why I'm asking you guys from the very beginning, just try to understand how these types of businesses are. So at least how stock price will look like, it becomes easier for you to participate going forward. Okay. There's many indicators out there. You'll have moving averages, MACD, RSI, ADX, stochastics, Bollinger Bands, Ichimoku clouds. Use whatever you want to use. We like to keep it simple. Usually for us, we just use moving averages and MACD. But what I tell people is that any single indicator that you have, you need to understand the logic of why they're used in the first place. Because in reality, every single stock should basically tell you, without even having a single indicator, should absolutely tell you what the market is already thinking, just based on price, volume, and magnitude and duration. Okay? Understand that all these indicators on the left, these are all derivatives of price. So if you don't know what price is telling you without any of these indicators, I will tell you, you will encounter so much difficulty. Okay? So I usually don't tell people, please don't rely on systems. Please don't rely on indicators purely for your stock trading. So some people have a trading strategy. Every time it breaks out of the 5 crossing 20 day, for example, we'll buy. We don't use that approach here in Caylum. Our approach is usually understanding what price and volume is telling us. And then all these indicators are just supplementary and just confirm what we think. Is price overbought? Yes. Can it become even more of an overbought? Possible also. Are prices oversold? Okay. Then we look at any of these indicators just to confirm what we are thinking. And that's the real purpose. If you look at all the best traders out there, they always tell you there's only 2 things you need: price and volume. Okay. I just included here magnitude and duration because at least it's easier for us to distinguish whether you're consolidating or you're in a price where you're in a buy high, sell high type of strategy. That's the only difference. Okay. So I hope that's clear. And basically look at any single chart. It doesn't take a genius for you to know whether a stock is up or down. Okay. If you're telling me this chart in front of you is a downtrend or it's going down, it's either you're blind or you need to fix your eyes. Okay. So my point is that it doesn't take a genius. It doesn't take any indicator for us to tell us that the stock market, the stock in front of me is in an uptrend. Okay. Price is telling you it's in an uptrend. Okay. All these indicators that you should be looking at should just confirm what you are thinking. Okay. Now, first things first about being overbought. So some people can tell you, pero parang ang taas na. It's gone up so much and the likelihood of it going down in the short term is probably high. True. Okay. But I tell people overbought can remain overbought for long periods of time. Unless price is telling you that it wants to go down, assume that it will still continue to go up in the short term. Okay. Now, fast forward to today. This is your PSEI. And if you look at the PSEI, it's down from 7,800 to 5.8 today. Okay. It's still down 20+% year to date. Okay. So my point is that when you're looking at any single stock, also accept, okay, why prices are also down from where it was before. Okay. Now, it doesn't also take a genius to know that stock prices are also down and sentiment is negative, and the bias towards any stock you're buying in the Philippines is to the downside. Okay. Now, if you're trying to convince yourself that it's going to go up because it's gone down so much, okay, well, I'm just trying to tell you, try to first understand what the market is already pricing in and why it's assuming, why the bias is still negative. Okay. Because I'll tell you, things take time. Price will always tell you And price will always be correct, and assuming first what you want to be in any single thesis and in any single story. Okay? All these technical indicators that you will encounter should just confirm that the market is still in a downtrend. For example, below the moving averages, MACD is still biased towards the negative side, or stochastics, RSI, ADX should all be pointing and just confirming what the price is just telling you from the beginning. Okay, so I hope that's clear. And going back is because when you're understanding all these different technical indicators and you have an expectation on how stock price should look like, it becomes easier for you to approach any single stock. Okay, we talked about 45-degree companies and how they're usually big companies because they're predictable. Usually it's driven by earnings, and usually we characterize them as stalwarts. Okay, they're still growing. Okay, I repeat, they're still growing, but at a bit a slower pace. Okay, 90-degree companies are the opposite. They're unpredictable, they're uncertain, they're highly speculative. Okay, and as traders, actually 90-degree companies are more ideal for short-term stock traders. Okay, the reason why, it's because all this unpredictability and all this uncertainty causes so much what we call volatility in stock price. Okay, so I'm not saying 90-degree companies are better than 45-degree companies. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, because it really depends on your risk appetite. Okay, what's important is that you need to distinguish if you're buying a company that's in 45-degree fashion or something that is buying because it's a buy high, sell high, and it's driven by all these news flow and speculation. Okay, that's just what I'm trying to point out. And sometimes we have a question, can there be both? Okay, and in some cases, yes. And when you have a company that's both 45 and 90-degree companies, usually we characterize them based as a 60-degree company. And 60-degree companies are basically my favorite types of companies to participate in. And the reason why, it's because there's a level of unpredictability. There's still a level of speculation, but you know that the idea and the earnings are about to come. Those for me, and especially the 60-degree companies, are usually my favorite types of companies to be buying, because I usually find them as the biggest opportunities for, you're not buying too early because it's still an idea. You're buying at the turning point when it's going to become a level of profitable company, where sales growth is still accelerating at a very, very high pace. Okay, so I just illustrated it in terms of what price should look like. So if you look at the 45-degree companies, they usually go up in terms of orderly fashion. Okay, in technical analysis, they call these as channels. Okay, in 90-degree companies, you'll notice that they go up so much in short amounts of time. Okay, and basically the approach for 45-degree companies is basically doing a buy low, sell high type of approach versus a company like 90-degree companies that are buy high, sell high. Okay, I posted some resources at the end, so at least it gives you an idea on how you want to be approaching 45 versus 90-degree companies. In fact, all the systems that I'm going to be explaining in the next few slides is all uploaded in YouTube. Okay, so I only suggest if you want to know more about how we do these systems and how we approach it from 45 and 90-degree companies, and understanding more about magnitude and duration, just log on to our YouTube channels and it's all there. Okay, now I'll probably end by going back to my first point about understanding your objectives as a trader. Okay, please, I repeat, trading is difficult. Long-term investing can be difficult if you're impatient. Okay, but I tell people, always understand what your objectives are. Okay, when we characterize everything from short-term, it's everything less than 1 year. People think, long-term naman ako eh, pero long-term mo 1 year lang. Hindi long-term yan, guys. Okay, long-term is looking at stuff that's longer than 5 years. That's how you should be viewing long-term. Okay, if you don't have the guts and the stomach for the next 5 years, don't do long-term. That's not long-term. Okay, and now if you think short-term and understanding businesses less than 1 year is more in line from your trading horizon, your time horizon, and your trading objectives, then understand more about market timing. Okay, long-term investors don't sell in panic. Market timers understand what I mentioned a while ago about overbought and oversold. Okay. Long-term investors like Warren Buffett hate volatility, but they understand it, because without volatility, you wouldn't have investors like Warren Buffett buy at incredibly cheap prices. Okay. Same time with us as market timers, we love volatility because volatility creates inefficiency, okay, and creates opportunity. And all that uncertainty obviously gives us better returns. Okay. Now I'll break down market timing into 3 different trading systems as well. And we usually characterize them as day trading versus trend trading versus counter trends. Okay. So the first 2 parts here is about position and swing and momentum. And basically these are what we call easy money. It's because you're going with the trend a while ago about what I mentioned. Okay. It's the first part about buying earnings because you're just agreeing to what the market is telling you. Okay. For position traders, normally it's weeks to months. So usually how we approach companies like PLDT, Globe, URC, CNPF Pure Gold is we usually approach them from a position trading standpoint, because usually these are 45-degree companies and they usually go up over time. Okay. We don't expect PLDT Globe to go up in a straight line. That's not what we expect. Okay. So usually our approach in big caps or in stalwarts or in 45-degree companies are usually positioned. For swing and momentum, it's on the 90-degree section. And that's why we look for your high technology companies and try to understand them from a news flow, if you notice it from the bottom, news flow, and basically trying to trade them in the short term on the day-to-day. So to give you guys some examples about swing and momentum, there's a lot of speculation happening outside in the US. Okay. You look at the type of quality of companies here in the Philippines, your speculation companies are puro basura. And I say basura, basura talaga. Okay. It's very different from speculation outside, because speculation outside, you have cloud computing, 5G, you have robotics, you have gene therapy, such as your CRISPR, Invita, you have clean energy, you have fuel cell technology, you have electric car vehicles that are still at the early stages, such as NEO, Workhorse. I could go on and on and on. But my point is because there's so much speculation happening in different sectors in the economy in the US, that's the reason why day trading is actually ideal outside. Okay, don't get me wrong. Sometimes in the Philippines, there's that opportunity, but I tell you people that opportunity in the Philippines is very, very small and the windows are very, very small. Okay. In fact, day trading, when you talk about day trading, you should be day trading outside globally, because I'll tell you, all these companies that start off as speculative or 90-degree companies can often turn out to be big winners also over time, because then this is related to what I talked about how all these ideas, 90-degree companies turn out as ideas. And then as earnings and as business start to grow, they turn out to become 10, 100 baggers over time. Okay. And last but not least, I'll talk about counter trends. And this is how we characterize about hard money. Okay. This is often even longer than position trading. It's because it takes so much time for you to convince people that, okay, things are changing in this particular sector. Okay. We talk about counter trends, and usually if you look at the F to T, so I forgot to announce this. This is fundamentals and technicals. The priority for counter trends the priority for fundamentals in counter trends is usually weighted 80% to 20%. Okay. Same case with position trading, where you're relying more on fundamentals than on technical price action. Okay. Nonetheless, these are just estimates. It's not obviously finite, but usually when you're prioritizing, I think the point here is that you're prioritizing more on fundamentals and on business rather than prioritizing what price action is telling you in that short term. Okay. So as traders, people ask me, I just want to be a swing and momentum trader. It's fit for me. I don't want to be a position or a counter trend. I don't want to do it. And I tell people it's fine. Okay. There's no problem with just being a swing and momentum trader, because it's in line with how your time horizon and how your risk appetite is. Then you'll have individuals. I just want to be a position trader because I don't have time to look at it every day, but I do want to participate in the bigger moves. And then you have individuals try to understand, okay, I only want to participate when there's a massive sell-off in the stock market, such as the Philippines, because I know my risk to the downside is so much lower. So I only want to be buying when everybody's fearful. I tell people, that's fine. It really depends on your personality. But as market timers, you need to understand all. And the reason why is that even if you're not doing it, you still need to understand how position works, how the day traders work, how counter trends work. And the reason why it's because the market is built with all different types of investors. Okay. And so what might be happening today, like in the US, is your day traders and your retail traders are doing so well. Okay. But there might become a point in time where your institutional investors might be doing well. Okay. Because it's always case to case. Okay. So what's important here is that as individuals, just understand how all systems work, because you might be swinging. Hindi gumagana ang swing momentum ngayon eh. So magiging position trader ka. Yung pala, hindi pala bagay sa'yo. Okay? So what's important is that please understand all, so at least you understand all the different types of expectations and objectives for each system. Okay, I'm almost done. I just listed here all the different types of setups. So it's actually a lot more before. We tried to cut down into less. Right now, there's only 7 or 8. We have coils and resets for positions. If you go to our website, I can show it in a bit. Usually when we talk about coils and resets, it's usually for 45-degree companies. When we talk about pullbacks, slingshots, and boomers, usually it's a 90-degree company, and that's why we approach it that way. And usually the same concept for counter trend setups is capitulation and reversals, because our approach obviously is from a longer term perspective. Okay. Maybe Eleanor can show our watch list in a bit, so at least you guys have an idea on how we approach it from our watch list perspective. Okay. And last but not the least, going back to all the resources that we have, guys, we're trying to provide a cheap way or a convenient way for trading to be available to everybody. We honestly believe that everybody should understand it, because everything's work from home. This is the perfect time to learn it. This is a lifetime skill. People think that trading is not for everybody. It's not. It really isn't. Okay? It's only those for the people who are dedicated and want to do this, I'll tell you, to make a lot of money over time. This is the greatest skill that you could ever have. And this is the greatest skill you could actually impart to not just to yourself, but to people around you and to the next generation. So I hope we'll be able to help you, guide you through your journey. We're trying to provide this with the easiest and the most convenient way. We're trying to make it very, very affordable for everybody. Eleanor is always getting mad at me, but I believe it's not just for us. And so it's not just for us, but it's for everybody. And it's our job to give back to every single individual. So that ends my presentation. And maybe you can show the website after, Eleanor.
I got it. No problem. Okay. So just so you guys get a perspective first, this is really important. What Edmund said at the end is something that you really have to understand. What we did at Caylum for the past 7 years was really about exactly that. We needed to make sure that our students were fully dedicated to learning this entire process. This is not something that I'm just going to do when I feel like it. I'm just going to learn this part and not this part. We've had some students initially when we were doing our recruitment program, and we have a screening process on who we would accept. It's just as simple as someone walking in and going, I don't really want to learn about fundamentals. I just want completely technicals. I don't need the fundamentals. I just want to learn about charts. That's it. And in that aspect, that's the reason why we would normally decline their applications. This is something that you have to understand. This is a partnership between everyone. And the reason why we've suddenly decided to, obviously with the pandemic, we've had to move everything online now, is because, now we're giving this opportunity to anyone who really wants to learn, but we're still going to make it as efficient, as extensive as possible in terms of imparting the knowledge to you. But we can only do so much. So on your end, it has to be your responsibility, and you guys have to be the ones who want to learn this, who want to take the time every morning, log onto the website, check what news is there, look at the website. You need your own initiative. we cannot always spoon feed everyone. And that's exactly why our recruitment program and our executive course were so important, because we could really talk face to face with our students, and they understand how seriously that they needed to take this business and this learning as much as we do, as much as we respect it. Okay. So today, what we're going to do right now is that,
sorry.
yes,
Before I get there, you can pull it up. I'll just answer a
I
couple of
am.
questions.
Yes. No problem.
So I have a couple of questions that were messaged privately. I'll just answer a few. For the brokerage, I know we keep on telling people we're global because we are global. We use Interactive Brokers and Charles Schwab for our trading. Okay. If you want to use it and you have a smaller account, I think you can open an account with TD Ameritrade. It's a merger with Charles Schwab. So they're smaller for the retail. To open an account, it's just $3,000 US, I think, as compared to a higher account for $20,000. Okay. For the other question about other asset classes going up because of the macro printing money, and they talked about mining stocks. Okay. I always tell people I like mining outside, and maybe Jason can share more about his, because he's our macro guy. We love gold. Obviously, we love gold and silver. It's just difficult for us to participate in the mining sector in the Philippines. I used to be a mining analyst, so I've been to all mines. I've been to Semirara, Nickel Asia. I've been to Rio Tuba. I've been to Atlas. I've been to Felix. I've been in all mines. Okay. And it's very different. It's a very different landscape. And the government and the regulation is very difficult. And that's why usually we talk about mining plays. Yes, you can participate even in Apex. It's fine, but usually these are all for us just trading in the short term. Nothing here to be held for the longer term perspective. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, later, by the way, we have a question and answer portion at the end of this really brief overview of the website. So if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to send it. We will try to address as many as possible by the end. But what we're going to do right now is that we're going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough on the website, just so that you know where to look, what you're looking for, and so on. The first element that you're going to see once you get into it is really just this sidebar. This sidebar is these are not just our articles. Let's make that clear, okay? So a lot of these articles will link to other pages, will link to other news channels, but we do curate the articles that are shown here. It should be more specifically for finance, business, and really more important for information that will affect the economy. We source this, and then every once in a while we get like articles that are not relevant, and then we'll delete those. So what you see is pretty much, it's fixed to the industry itself. Then what's really important is that you have to look, I'm gonna move my screen just so that it's easier for you to see. Okay, now for this part, we don't have any breaking news. You'll notice that on some days, we do not necessarily post, or some weeks, you don't see as many articles as you would normally see on another week. This is not because, we were busy today or whatever. We're busy all the time. But the reason is because there are just some weeks that there's just no news. There's nothing relevant for us to share. And one thing that we wanted to make sure was that we don't want to keep drilling out articles and articles that are useless, that have no bearing for that day, that are irrelevant. Things that we post are because each and every single one is important, and we want you to be able to read that information. Our job is to filter out all the noise, because there's so much. Twitter alone, you'll see so many things, you'll read so many things, but you don't know which one is really important to certain trading strategies today, for the Philippines, for the global. So it's really important that we only post the things that we think are going to make you money or that will help your trading. Okay? So these are all the featured articles. You'll find them here. This is a mix of all the editorials that our writers write about. I will introduce you to our writers later. Most of you guys already know them. They're also coaches. They have been coaches for 7 years with the team for the recruitment and for the recruitment specifically. Okay, so I'll get to them in a bit, but right now, so this is what you have to be looking at: features and editorials every single day. The events are here. That's it. And down here, you'll see the latest issue of Sketch. Okay, Sketch used to be only for the alumni community. What is Sketch? Sketch is all these bits and pieces that we find around the web, all these different analysis, not just from our Caylum team, but from the prop trading firm. So in case you guys don't know, the sister company of Caylum Trading Institute is the CTS Global prop trading firm. This firm has been around and has been trading global stocks for almost more than 40 years, since the 1980s. Okay, that is how long they have been there. Bri is almost that age. So Bri has been with us for that amount of time. So they have been like global stocks for us is second nature. It's pretty much our first nature in the past few years, more than the Philippines, to be honest. But of course, we stick to the Philippines because we believe that there's opportunity everywhere. And we want to take part and participate in all of that. Okay, so the Sketch will take all those bits and pieces. They take notes from some of the presentations of teams who work for the prop trading firm who are doing well. These guys, these traders, you don't see them because they're busy, obviously, making money for the firm. But what they do is that they have regular meetings every single day. Now, the important bits and pieces from that, that's what we take it from. That's what we put in our Sketch. So these are the most current information news that you're going to find. Then down here, you have charts in review. You will have, this is for our technicians. So this is really all the charts that you want to see. Brian obviously posted something here, and he's going to, later on, he's going to express, or he's going to explain a little bit of how he picks the charts to be presented here. And then down, these are the weekly inspiration, because let's face it, I mean, Caylum was the pioneer of bringing this into the Philippines, which is discussing more than just fundamentals and technicals, but understanding that the mindset, the trading mindset, and your sentiment, your psychology with every trade, with every execution, how important each and every single one is. These are all elements that we have to combine together. So obviously, fixing your mindset, reading about this, trying to condition yourself well enough to trade is key. That's why Edmund said that this is not for everyone. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have terrible days. You're going to have emotional days. And if you cannot harness those while you are trading, your chances of making money slim incredibly. Okay, they slim incredibly down. So that is why we try to present as much inspiration to inspire. This is necessary. This is not cliche or anything. We need to inspire. This is like a job. You want to be able to execute well, you better make sure that you are in the proper frame of mind to do so. Okay? So now I'm going to bring you here to our watch list. Okay. So everyone was asking, how do I find the watch list? Obviously, everyone wants to know what it is. So it's under analysis, click on watch list. There's also buybacks, consensus estimates, and the ETFs. But let's just do the watch list for today. Okay. I'm going to call on Bea. Bea, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Bea.
Morning.
Hello. Okay. Bea is our master of the watch list. She is in charge of really putting this together. So Bea, if you could talk about it a little bit more.
So yeah, this is our watch list. So it consists of the stocks that are in play. So as you can see, there are different colors. So the one, can you please click the one with the hyperlink? So yeah. So this is the post trade analysis that we do. Once we delete a certain stock from our watch list, we do this. So as you can see here, this example is blue. So this is the chart first. So this is the chart. We traded this. Wait lang. So we traded this with the entry of 2078. But it went down to our the formation. So merong reason for removing the news came out when the president threatened to shut down or expropriate Globe and Tel if they fail to improve their services. So because of that, we decided to remove Globe. So let's go back to the watch list tab na lang first. Yung watch list tab. Go there. So you can see the stocks, kung anong price namin siya inad, kung anong formation siya during that time, at saka kung kailan namin siya dinelete and at what price. So you can see the return of the stock initiated, at saka yung price target namin, at saka yung risk reward namin. So that's basically it. That's it.
Yeah, just to add, we've been doing this for the last 3-4 years. So what we did is that we just included everything we've added for the last 3-4 years. The reason why naka-hyperlink lang yung mga last few ones was because it was just the only time we had the website on, right? So I think the purpose really is just to use this as a guide. We try to be as timely as we can, even for getting out. I think the nice thing about now is that as you're part of the community, it's easier for you to get notifications because we're using Viber for real-time notifications.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Bea, for that explanation. So you'll notice that Bea has been handling this. So if, for example, she does decide that she wants that the team decides that they want to take something out, or if you want to see all of the things, you can just click her name. All of her posts, all the analysis are here. Okay, everything that she's also in charge of. Bea, could you explain? You also write about all the earnings. Is that correct?
Yeah, but okay lang ba yung sa sketch muna?
Oh, okay, sure, no problem.
Sorry.
Sure. Okay. Which one do you want me to click?
For the week ended. For the week ended.
There we go.
So on a weekly basis, I write a summary of what happened in the Philippine market. So as you can see there, there's this company buyback. Ito lang yung summary ng transactions ng company regarding their company buybacks. Other that is the insider transaction. This helps us know which owners are dumping and or acquiring their company's shares. The next is top 10 foreign buying and selling. This gives us the idea which companies the institutions are focusing on. Since the institutions are the big fish, it's better to track their activities. So the next one is top 10 weekly gainers. So ayun lang yung mga stocks that are in play, ganyan. Next is foreign activity for the week and for the year. So this just to the trend of the institution activity. And the last one is the significant dates the week after. So there. I also post the earnings usually right after they release company reports. So under the analysis tab, you can also see Philippine buybacks. This the compiled version lang nung sa sketch, which I did on a weekly basis. This one on a monthly basis naman. So the next one is the consensus estimates. This the tabular summary lang of the Philippine companies' financials. So you can see the ticker, market cap, the target of compiled companies, the price, the average PE, sales, and net income. Also the dividend yield. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bea. Just so you guys know, Bea is part of the trading team also. We will, by the way, you gotta stick around because we are going to be sharing that we actually have an event and Bea is gonna be part of that speaking panel. It's gonna happen next week. So we will discuss that further a little later. Thanks again, Bea. Right now, we are now going to call on Zar. Zar is actually our head analyst for Caylum, also a trader for CTS Global. So Zar, are you there?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi guys.
Which
Morning.
article do you want me to put up for you?
Well, just click on my name na lang. So
Sure. Okay. Zar, Picador. Let's pull you up.
So okay. So
All right, Zar, you're up.
market. So I produce, I write about the local market. I produce individual company reports and also for new IPOs, and provide commentary on current news about local companies. And so, yeah, if you look at, then I also post about company earnings, analysis of the sectors, etc. So, yeah, if you look at the, and we write about yung mga IPOs, if you're ARI, and also recent maybe company, relevant company events or what's happening in companies in play.
Yeah, he's the one who tipped us for Mary Mart. So thank you, Zar. Okay, so that's Zar. He handles all of that, all of these, and the major in-depth analysis as well. I think you guys are mostly also familiar with the next guy, Mark Jason Mariposa. Are you there? Jason.
Hi guys.
Hey, Jason.
How's everyone?
Antok pa. How are you?
Hi, I'm so excited to talk today.
Parang di ka excited eh.
Parang,
Pwede na ba?
oh, pwede na. Go.
So I think most of you guys know that my specialty is macro. Most of the articles I write about are about global markets, because parang I think we have more than enough people writing about local markets. So I write 90% of the time about what's happening around the world. So as Edmund said, my job is to point you to where the bull market is, right? So like one good example is the gold miners. So we've been writing about this since last year actually. And then like recently, I also tried to connect the dots. Like for example, the Fed said this, that we're gonna maintain policy until inflation reaches 2%. So what does that mean for gold, diba? So that's my job. So I connect the dots. I provide context to what's happening today, diba? By fitting it into the big picture narrative. Diba? And of course, I make calls on overall strategy, like where do we point our cannons, diba? Saan tayo pupunta? And of course, recommend trades and ideas. So that's what I try to do, and make it all relevant to markets today. And I think I'm really forced to do that because I trade everything that I recommend anyway. So if I write something stupid or wrong, matalo. So
Sabay na kayo, guys.
that's how I'm sure that it stays relevant.
All right. Thank you, Jason. And then,
wait lang.
Sorry. Hindi pa pala tapos. Sorry.
And yung sideline ko dito is about more educational stuff, like what books to write. And like, for example, featuring Jesse Livermore and your favorite quotes and all of that. Okay, so,
Okay. So now I'm going to pass the floor on to our resident senior. Tito Bri, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Bri.
Hello. Bakit sarado ang market today, no?
Para makatulog kayo.
Yeah. So, anyway, so what I write, I try to write every day. Here, you can see my article, the homepage, a little bit. If you scroll down the homepage, you can see my article there. And sideline ko naman is a few inspirational, just like Edmund. Anyway, the Daily USA part that I write is the objective of that is more on trying to focus and prepare those who are trying to trade the global markets, particularly the US market. There are a lot of ideas actually in the US, so I think it would help them if I write a few of my thoughts before the day starts or the night starts. So I try to write as interestingly as I can, whatever I see in the market. So every day, as you know, as traders, it's our job to skim through of those charts every day. So on a setup basis, if I see any, so this is my approach on a setup basis. If I see any ideas, anything tradable, executable, I try to share it as interestingly as I can. So from time to time, I write about narratives, a few short narratives from the watch list of ARK Invest, Puru Sasena, if you know him, and also the CPS Global Research Team. So I try to read uh, if I find one stock in the list that is whose price action is acting favorably, I try to write a little about what it makes, what's the story behind it. So there, it's more of trying to encourage everyone to trade the global markets. So I was thinking, kailangan nyo ng guidance. So I'll try to write every day. Although it's daily USA, sometimes walang ideas talaga.
That's true. That's true. We can't expect that every single day there's really something, right? Or so that's the problem sometimes when you trade, you wind up if there's nothing there, you force yourself to see something that's not there, and that's the most dangerous part about it. Okay, thank you so much, Bray. All right, so that gives you an idea of our writers, their contributions every once in a while. We're going to get some of our prop traders to also come in and contribute special articles. Now, one thing that we do regularly are live events. So the videos are, not all of them are actually available for free on our YouTube channel. A lot of them, like for example, what we're doing next week, we're going to have a panel discussion, a casual trader talk with one of the teams in the firm that has been doing quite well for the year. So we're going to bring them in next week. We're going to sit down, interview them, ask them what strategies they used. This is not play money. This is not virtual. This is like real money that they've been trading for. I mean, all our traders trade with real money. So let's make that clear. Okay. So their performance will be discussed next week. So we record these events, and then the first place that we post them is always here on the media site. So this is our lightning rounds. This will not also be available on the YouTube channel. So all of this is in-house. Okay. So the media center hosts that. Now, what I want to do right now that you have a basic overview of what we do have, I want to talk to you about what we are going to have in a few, which we will start rolling out. We're already developing the videos for this. Now, a lot of people asked us specifically about online courses. We've been asked that time and time again. Today we understand because today we have people all over the world who are tuned in, who can't necessarily obviously make it into our physical classes at that time, at that schedule. So the reason why we never had them was because it's not because we were against it, like I said before. It's really just because we believe that in order to effectively teach, it's better if we get to see you face to face. And we still believe that until today. But given the circumstances, we have shifted. We are going to be shifting all our modules online now. And essentially, these things are already going to be given out like to you for free. The only reason why we have to put a price tag on this is just a very minimal price tag, is just because it costs money to run a website. I mean, that's a fact, obviously. So the only way to do that is to sustain it, to give the quality that we want to give. That's the reason why we had to charge a subscription fee. But overall, this information is going to be available to everyone. You'll be able to see this soon. So just to show you, this is not up and running yet. You cannot access this yet. But for those who are interested to know more about the the online courses, this is the e-learning facility that we're developing. So for example, this is just one of the things. We're going to be doing modules. Everything is in video format, okay? So the e-learning facility will offer modules for every single one. So for example, under Introduction to Timing, we will be talking about drivers of price movement, which is parts of it Edmund already discussed this morning. And then we will give a case study. The case studies are very important. Also another reason why we wanted to conduct our classes in the facility, so we could see you, because we only want to use real-time case studies while educating you. One of the biggest factors and one of the essential things about having the recruitment program or the executive course was that while you were in our classroom, we wanted you to be able to make money on the ideas presented in the classroom. So we are going to try to do that here as well. So as much as possible, every case study, we will try to update this as often as we can when we're explaining these kind of sections, these modules. The case studies, we will try to keep it as relevant and as current as we can, all right, for you. So hopefully you can make money while you're learning at the same time. Presentation materials will all be available, plus we will give you an assessment. So this, you can take your exams, you can take your tests, you can check whether or not you really understood the classes, you really understood what we were talking about, and maybe that will help you decide whether you are really ready to trade in the particular system that you want to for yourself. So like I said, everything is here. So these will be a combination of video plus
the
our
possibility of making a lot of money.
There you go. Okay. So this is not available, but it will be very, very soon. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing really quick. Okay. Just to answer some of the questions that we have. Wow, we have a lot. Okay. So Kennard, Jose, do you offer your courses online? Yes, we are going to start doing so, okay? Remember that the subscription fee is all inclusive. That comes with everything. This is not just you have to pay add-on for certain things. No, it's just one price for the whole website, for the e-learning facility, everything that you need. Will there be a watch list maintained for global markets? Bri usually posts it in his daily charts, his daily USA charts. We are working to see whether we can develop a watch list for global markets similar to our Philippine watch list. We'll get back to you. We'll update you on this. But if you are part of the Viber community, like Edmund mentioned, a Viber community, and I think I saw some questions earlier on. These are for annual subscribers. Okay, so if you have paid an annual subscription, you are immediately invited to join the Viber group. We need to do this simply because we can't scrub every month for who's part of it, who's not, and so on. So we really put it on a yearly basis. It is well worth it given the amount of knowledge and amount of ideas that are shared constantly through this community. So I do suggest that you can be part of it. Is there a rough date when the recruitment program will be opened up again? Oh, wow, that's a very great question. I wish we could do that. We don't know. We really don't know. I mean, I know how, like we have some alumni who are with us today. I see Mark. What's up, sir? Demo is here from London. I think I saw Milo come in. David is here. Defi was, she I think joined us in Singapore last year. So face-to-face for us is the most important. But I'm going to tell you that even us, we have not seen each other face-to-face. And I really wish that we could. Hopefully, when this all blows over. But right now, we got to adapt and adjust as much as possible. So if we do have an open recruitment program, we will be sure to let you know. But most likely, it will be in a distance setup. So rather than accommodating 30 people, now we can just accommodate 15. So I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. But right now, I hope you will take advantage of the e-learning facility that we'll be providing. Bea, there's a question here. Maybe you could answer it for us. What is the relevance of the Philippine buyback? Amen. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you, girl. Okay. Yeah.
So yung pH buyback. So, okay. So, yung relevance lang for me is to know, kasi yung company nagbibigay siya nagre-release siya kung magkano yung buyback nila, yung proposed buyback nila. So, if for example, for that week, bumili sila ng super laking number of shares, ibig sabihin, dapat meron price movement kung sakaling sa open market siya ginawa. So for me, that's important para para lang makita if magre-reflect siya sa price din ng stock. Tapos if pwede rin siyang maging stock in play for the future. Usually kasi yung buyback ginagawa nila if the stock is undervalued na for the company, ganun. So that's it.
Yeah. Thank you. So Tess, I hope that answered your question. Daryl, if you try the 7-day trial, you will be part of the Viber group. No, sorry, this is for annual subscribers, as I mentioned earlier. Christelle, is the website and the articles watchlist available to all? Yes, there is no package for this. Like I mentioned, this is all inclusive with the subscription fee, that one subscription fee, and that's it. Yes, online classes. You're so cute, Kennard. Nice to see you. All right. Thank you, Mayu. I think she answered some of the questions here. Yeah. When will the online course start? Okay. So Jason is working on his video skills and his introduction skills, and he has well groomed himself because he's preparing the videos for you. Edmund,
we're gonna start shooting next week.
Yes, oh, there you go. So once they shoot, we edit. It will be up very, very soon. We just have to put it all together, piece it all together. So just so you know, it's not just these guys who will be there. Our president and CEO of CTS Global, Lawrence Lee, who is usually only exclusive to the recruitment program, will also be hosting some of the modules. So those are things that you need to watch out for, because he usually handles our technical analysis side, while the other guys do our fundamentals. Then of course we're going to have Leonard. We need Leonard there, and a lot of the guys from the executive. So we're going to mash this all up into one big e-learning system for everyone, that everything that you might need to know about market timing is there. Okay. Do you provide some form of intrinsic value calculators for your subscribers? Will you offer an online course about it in the future? Your subscription fee is undervalued. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Romy. Okay.
You want me to answer that question first?
Yes. Please answer it first, Edmund.
So when it comes to stock trading, we don't really believe too much in target prices. And the reason why, because we always understand how things can go higher. Usually we just use target prices as just a gauge about how big of the undervalue is there still be, and how much of a re-rating could there still be, right? We always don't take everything at face value. Obviously, the bigger the target price, the higher the confidence that we have when it comes to buying that type of company, okay? So I think what's important, rather than understanding purely based on target prices, is basically understanding what the potentials are, especially when it comes to that short-term perspective. So yun lang. I think that's the more important part.
Okay.
We provide value. We provide target prices, but it's not for you to just take it as is.
Exactly. So that's really important to understand as well. Is there, or would there be, an article to start from global markets? You know what, Wayne? That is a really good suggestion. And I think we are probably going to do that. How to get started in trading global markets. Yeah. I'm sure it's very different. Bri, how long have you been trading global markets?
How long is it? 20 years?
20 years now. Okay. So I think everyone else, because everyone else here has been probably more than almost a decade already for almost everyone else here. So I guess I think this is really important. Obviously, things probably changed from 20 years ago in terms of opening an account and getting started and what to look at
Yeah.
as compared to today. So this is a good suggestion. I think we'll definitely take this up, Wayne. So I'll let you know. We can maybe include this in one of the modules as well. Okay, thank you for that. From Raymond, agree to Doc Rami that your price for subscription is cheap. I know, thank you. I hope it won't compromise the quality of the materials and the dedication of the coaches. Okay, one thing you need to know about Caylum, there's no such thing as compromise for us in terms of quality. Has never been, will never, will be in that sense. Let's put it this way. An advocacy is like this. These guys honestly could be trading instead, day and night. They love it. They love to do it. This is their real passion. The fact that they are open to sharing what they know and giving that essentially for free for everyone as much as possible and try to help people learn, I think that should already be your indicator as to how committed everyone here really is. Because this is about education more than, or trying to help people who really want to learn how to trade. The only thing we ask for in return is just your commitment to learn. That's it. Because if we don't get that from you, then like I always say whenever I interview people for the recruitment, it's really just about, we don't want to waste your money or your time. But if you want to make money, it's not easy. If you want to learn and understand how to do this, it is never going to be easy. Trading is really not easy. So you have to be fully equipped and very much willing to understand it. So I promise you, in terms of dedication, that will never happen. I know these guys, I trust them. You guys, I think the students who have undertaken, who have studied under them, trust them well enough to know that we will not compromise. If ever, the materials are actually going to get better because now they're all online rather than they were before. So thank you for that, Raymond. I will try. We will definitely do our best to live up to those expectations. Thank you for that. Okay, Kevin, on average, who wants to answer this? How many years does it take for a retail trader to be profitable? It's a good question.
I can answer.
Okay, go.
Anyway, to be honest, you can be profitable from the get-go. In my experience during the bull market, it was 3 to 6 months, profitable already. But the question is, can you remain great at what you're doing as the market changes? So if you're going to start now, you'll be beginning just like when I started, when it was during the tech bubble. Everything's really easy. So if you begin today, you can be profitable in the next 3 to 6 months, but can you sustain it? And also, can you adjust when the market changes? So you have to have those different arsenals also to use when the market, let's say, for example, turns and then it's not in momentum mode anymore. Can you adjust? So I think the most important question is more of, can you sustain your profitability? How long can you sustain your profitability? Rather than when can you start becoming profitable? Because becoming profitable, darating na lang yan if you do it properly. So it depends on how you can be disciplined enough to do it consistently, properly. Yeah.
Okay. From Butts, are there any prerequisites to participate in the online courses? Butts, please just make sure that you're already familiar with all the basic investing and trading terms. I mean, just the simple ones. You should be able to understand how the market works, how to buy and sell. We do recommend you have prior experience to using a trading platform before you join, because if you know how to invest, then that's probably the first step, really. Hi, Lilio. Lilio, is that correct? Hello, Giovanni. Thank you so much for your comments. We really appreciate it. Hi, Uncle Frank. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us. More from Michael. He's requesting for more articles about outside trading, like what Edmund recently published. So yes, we will take that into consideration, Michael. Thank you. Neil, you're welcome. He said that to me. How to use margin on interactive brokers. Okay. I use Schwab, so I can't answer this. IB guys, would you know?
How do you use?
If you have it authorized, it should use it automatically. Meaning when you have 20K equity, you buy 30K worth of stocks, dapat automatic yung nagagamitin. Assuming that you authorized or the account to use margin.
Okay. I hope that answers your question. Thank you. All right, Christian, how long do you think the S&P 5 can keep the bull market running?
Longer than you can stay on the sideline.
That's it. That's it. So Ralph is asking, masasave ba to sa website? Yes, yes. Actually, we're going to put this up on YouTube. So this will be a public discussion that we will make it available online. Okay. And Edward, thank you so much. I mean, I'm going to tell you, reading through the comments, we really appreciate the support that you guys have had for us. In turn, it has hopefully helped a lot of people as well. We hope that we can keep this going, and we will definitely try our best to do so. So I believe that ends our discussion for today. El Capitan, Edmund, any last words that you want to share?
I think when it comes to trading, always understand that this is a journey. And this journey is always a lifetime journey. I mean, Bri has been here for the last 20 years. I've been here for the last 11, and I don't even feel like it's 11 years. I mean, look at us. Mukhang bata pa rin kami ni Bri. Bro, I think the point is that everything that we do, I mean, everything we've been doing for the last 11 years, we just continuously be building good habits, and we keep on finding open mind and work ethic to make ourselves better every single day. Every time we teach, we become better. And that's why we love sharing our ideas. We love giving people everything that we can have, because it obviously makes our trading better, right? And I think that's helped us become where we are today. And I hope all of you guys will also become successful in your own trade. We're here to guide you. We're here to help you. And hopefully we can all make money together. So I wish you guys all the best.